and welcome to this episode of Startups of London. Today we are with Charlie and Barry. I'm so excited to hear what their story is. So Charlie, over to you first. Can you tell us about what you wanted out of life, where you are, what are you working on right now?
Well, Pluton Biosciences is a biotech company that is unlocking the power of microbes. Those are bacteria, fungi, and viruses that live everywhere and in everything, and they can do a lot to solve some of our world's greatest environmental challenges, including things like climate change. So we really are mining the power of microbes to discover a sustainable tomorrow today. And I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. Mostly in transportation. I knew I was going to be selling my company, and I was good friends with Barry, and he kept saying, I have an idea. And I kind of talked him into making his idea a reality. So Barry, why don't you jump in about the power of microbes?
Yeah, thanks, Charlie. So, I spent almost 30 years in the field of microbiology. I think about them. I worked in a lab where I guess they considered themselves bacteria whisperers. What is the bacteria telling you? How can you make sure that you're not smarter than the bacteria? How can you use bacteria and to allow them to tell you their story? That's really what we're trying to do. And one of the things that the professors would say, if you can imagine it, a microbe already does it. So if you can imagine anything you want to solve in the world, do you want to degrade all the plastics that's out there in the ocean? Do you want to fertilize the world, fertilize the agricultural spaces in the world? Do you want to stop climate change? Microbes can probably do it. And there are 1 trillion species of microbes, 1 trillion. We just learned that recently. And that sort of, excuse me, is what got me started in thinking there has to be a better way. And I did that because I was leading 2 different companies that were isolating microbes to solve different kinds of problems. And I started thinking, well, I don't think we're doing this right. I wonder if this was my company, what would I do? And how would I do that better? And that's when I started talking to Charlie about this stuff. And he said, well, why don't we do that? Why don't we move forward?
That's incredibly fascinating. So why did you decide to become a part of a larger organization, an accelerator in this case?
So in this case, we of course, you're always trying to raise funds, but one of the critical pieces when you get to and start looking at this huge amount of microbes, that means a huge amount of data. The only way to attack and understand those microbes is through sequencing. Illumina is the biggest sequencing company in the world. And somebody who I knew who had started a microbial company said, you need to go do this Illumina Accelerator. And so we applied. We knew it's a huge competition. It's very hard to get into it. We said, look, we have an interesting case. Let's try. And so when I left Indigo Ag, the last company I was working for, which is a very, very large startup, I said, let's focus on trying to get into the Illumina Accelerator, which fits exactly with what we're trying to do. Identify these trillions of organisms and use sequencing and computational biology to understand what are they telling us? What can we learn from all of this sequence? And the Illumina Accelerator is what enables us to get there. Yeah. That was the first big leap for us.
It also, from the funding standpoint, we're located in St. Louis, Missouri, which is a wonderful place to do business. It is not the epicenter of the startup world. And San Francisco is really, it's where venture capital was founded. And so there's a level of sophistication and really just sheer numbers more than anything else of investors that Illumina can introduce us to in San Francisco that we just weren't getting that type of traction in the Midwest. So it was also, it was an intersection of science and of science and practical financial reasons. Dr. Goldman and I both have our own capital invested in, we're not 20 something, so we both have our own capital invested in Pluton. It was funny, when I was looking at your pitch stuff, one of the challenges, one of the hardest things we did was actually have our first let's do this meeting. It was over Labor Day of 2016, when Barry was leaving his first company, which was Monsanto, and going to Indigo. where he led the microbial discovery pipelines of both those companies. We had dinner at my house with our wives, and Barry does it. I don't know if I ever told you this, Barry, but I'm saying it was the hardest thing because it was the most painful moment of our entire business relationship to date, because I had thrown halfway through the meal as I was pulling the forget what we had, but it was something lovely meat-wise on the grill. As I was taking the meat off the grill, I threw my back out. And that was at about 8 o'clock. And so I was in excruciating pain the entire meal. And we all got really excited, and our Diana and Heather, our respective wives, got really excited. And we went for 4 hours. So far, I'm happy to report the most painful moment was the founding day of the company. But Illumina, really, we did pick Illumina, and we were so honored that they picked us. And so far, it's allowed us to take the biggest risk, which was hire on Diana, who is also a microbiologist, my wife, Ann Gugasberg and Kirk Narzinski, our fellow founders, who had helped while Barry was off at Indigo, helping them, and he did some great work with them, setting up a microbial pipeline of finding bacteria inside plants. We were digging around in the soil, and we did our proof of concept, which was finding 10 new bacteria to kill mosquitoes that carry Aedes aegypti, which is the guy that carries Zika and yellow fever and lots of bad diseases. So that's becoming our first products, a mosquito larvicide. And so
that's incredible.
The team's been moving along.
The story you're telling is so exciting, and what you're working on is so incredible that it makes me want to quit what I'm doing and work for you guys. So congratulations on that. So Barry, looking at the future, what are some next challenges? What's the next biggest challenge for you?
Well, it's really to kind of to do this right, because you're dealing with these huge numbers, is really to kind of develop the automation that allows you to do this in a really high throughput way, and to bring online the computational resources. Now, we've built out the basic parts of this. So we have sort of a basic infrastructure. We're working with another founder, Glenn Schuster, who is our CTO, and is a data guy. He's worked in the health industry for about 20 plus years. He built a company called Centene. He was the CIO and CTO there, from a $1 billion company to a $50 billion company, really with the support of the data he's building. He's now started his own, and they are going to be our main support in terms of data. So we have that infrastructure we're just getting started on. And then we have automation. Kirk Narzinski is an automation expert, and we're going to be starting to put all those pieces together. So instead of us, in a startup, everybody's doing everything. You're holding tubes, you're opening freezers. We want machines to be doing all that. We want the machines to take most of the effort that we're doing and let the machines do most of that effort while we think of the big experiments. Again, the products we're really looking for are in the agricultural space. So how do we get new herbicides? How do we get new pesticides? We know that the current herbicides, which are synthetic in chemistries, consumers don't want anymore. And so they're being rejected. And so, but farmers, growers have to have a way of suppressing weeds. Otherwise, they lose a lot of their yield. We can't feed the world. So can we come up with novel herbicides that are made by the microbes that are already living in the soils with the crops? Can we find herbicides that we can apply and just find them from microbes? And by looking at trillions of microbes, we believe we can find novel things that weren't there before. And we're also looking at novel insecticides and novel pesticides, et cetera.
So one of our challenges was one of the challenges, and this is I'm the liberal arts guy, amongst a bunch of science nerds. And one of the challenges I had was the storytelling. So I wanted them to come up with a name of this. And the mining idea came because one of the first things Barry said, I've figured out a way of finding microbes way faster than anyone else. I said, well, give me a comparison. Give me, I was fishing for a metaphor. And he said, well, think of it like old fashioned, go down in the shaft coal mining. versus strip mining, where you're taking shovelfuls out in Wyoming and pulling lots of coal out all at once. It's that type of leap in productivity. So we've called it micromining. So mining microbes, and our mines are very small. You know, literally a teaspoon of soil contains 1 million bacteria, fungi, and viruses. It's a lot of diversity just in a teaspoon of soil, and they change. Every soil sample is unique. So we call it micromining. It is really a 21st century solution of biomining, which we all know as, and if you go back to the 50s with the guy with the big voice who's talking about the amazing things, they'll show guys digging around in soil to find all of the things that we call antibiotics today. Penicillin was pulled from nature. They were biomining nature's solutions. We are now micromining nature's solutions. So we see this really as a great way of, we do see ourselves as the Louis Pasteurs and Alexander Flemings of the 21st century. That's what we want to be. That's what we look. We aspire to do good and make money and help create a sustainable tomorrow today. That's what we, through micromining nature's solutions.
Huge aspirations, but I think well deserved. And I wish you all the best in this incredible journey. That's not only going to be good for you, but also if you become successful, I wish you will be successful for other people and for the world. So thank you very much for taking the time today and sharing your story.
Yep, thank you so much. Appreciate it, Ozan.
Hi, I'm Amanda. I'm Global Head of Illumina Accelerator. We're a company creation engine focused on building genomics-driven startups. We have 2 locations, one in the San Francisco Bay Area and one in Cambridge, UK. And at Illumina, our mission is to unlock the power of the genome to improve human health. And we know we can't do it alone. So over the past 6 years, we've been partnering with entrepreneurs across the globe to unlock the power of the genome, to help the entrepreneurs and the startups build genomics-driven companies in the therapeutic space, in diagnostics, in synthetic biology, and direct-to-consumer software, research tools, applications. We've really been able to work with entrepreneurs to kind of push the boundaries of where genomics can go.
Hey, I'm Anya, and I'm the head of Illumina Accelerator Cambridge. So entrepreneurs, we're on the hunt to find the best genomic startups across the globe. What we're looking for is raw talent. We provide access to capital, sequencing credits, coaching, as well as access to state-of-the-art lab facilities. Apply now, as we can't wait to meet you and help you accelerate your company.